Welcome to this new stream. I am Multi-Topic Talk, and today we will review Anora and We Live in Time. These are two movies that are drama and romance, but they have a different spin on the matter, and they are both very interesting. I was entertained. I've seen both movies back to back. So yeah, um, Anora, that one is a future classic. I can tell. It's very rare that I see a lot of people coming in the theater nowadays. It's a once in a full moon or something like that. But yeah, I was surprised to see that many people just walking into the theater again. I guess people really wanted to see Anora. Anora is basically a great movie where we got a streetwalker. I will try to remain YouTube friendly. And that streetwalker is basically dating, dating a rich Russian guy. Very interesting premise. And yeah, you realize people are very materialistic when they are in that universe where a lot of these streetwalkers they don't have money. So when they see people having money to waste, they will fully benefit from that. That was very interesting. The other thing to say about Anora is Ivan, the love interest, is depicted as an unreliable narrator. Now, I didn't really mention that, but we will have spoiler. So if you haven't rewind, if you haven't seen Anora, this is your warning. Ivan is the Russian guy that has money, and he lies on a lot of things. And the only truth he really told throughout the movie was, "Yeah, I ate my parents." And spoiler again, um, but I already said spoiler in the past. But you learn at the very end of the movie that he only marries the streetwalker to piss off his mother. That was something. You could tell a lot of story could really happen like that. Um, you you go into a fake wedding, a fake marriage, only to spite people. I'm sure you heard stories like that. And here is another thing. I might be wrong, but Anora is so effed up that the only way she expressed love would be with bedroom fun to remain YouTube friendly. So that that scene. So there's a scene at the very end of the movie where I think she actually cares about one of the characters in the movies. And it's implied that the character might or might not be gay, but she cares about that guy, and the way Nora shows it is, well, she wants to F him in the car like that. Let's just bang, bang, bang. Yeah, that's Nora in a nutshell. And I feel like a lot of these people, streetwalkers, have a lot of trauma in a lot of times because let's be honest about that. It's very degrading that you feel the need to sell your body. It's degrading that you think that's the only way to get rich or to really connect with people, even if you don't really connect. So Anora criticizes all of that kind of stuff. And now let's get into the relationship that is the core of the movie, Anora and Ivan. Um, it's materialistic, the purest form of materialistic. Ivan doesn't really like Anora. He uses her to spite his parents. Feel like I repeat myself, but that's really the idea behind the movie. And the other thing is, well, she has a cool body, and he is a guy. A straight guy, I should say, because there are other guys that are not that impressed. But the relationship between them is it's really transactional. They don't know each other very well, um, and it's proven many times, mainly through Anora's eye, where the people she's walking around with to try to find Ivan because Ivan escaped at some point. They're like, "What does he like? What does he do? Where does he go?" And Anora is like, "I don't know." So that was the best way they had to really tell you, yeah, she doesn't really know the guy. And it's interesting because at some point in the movie, she mentions Disneyland and how she had these dreams as a child to have a wedding, and all Disney played a role into it. I'm not a woman, so maybe I'm crazy on that, but I think that could be something a lot of women relate to. They have that dream wedding in their mind. And until the point Nora realizes it's a fraud marriage, she thought she was living the dream. Until we got like Russian people knocking at the door and being like, "Yeah, it's not true. It's fraud. Doesn't really love you." But she really latched on to the idea of luxury and having all of the money she was dreaming of. So again, she didn't really like Ivan. She liked the fact that he had money. And Ivan didn't really like her. He liked the fact that he could piss off people. So that closes off the core aspect of why their relationship is purely transactional. Um, and now let's get into Ivan a bit more. The playful nature of Ivan is well shown during the scenes where he plays video games and how he married a streetwalker out of spite of his mother. So yeah, and if you ask TikTok, Twitter, social media, maybe they will be like only kids play video games, and maybe some of the writer did thought about that while making the movie. Hopefully, it's not the case because I strongly disagree with that kind of messaging. But the fact is, he is very playful, and he is playful in other instances. At some point, he screams and go nuclears at a hotel worker, and then he's saying, "I'm joking." But you're like, is he really joking? And this goes back to Ivan is the unreliable narrator. This movie is just, it has so much layers. If you don't think, if you just watch what's going on, you're entertaining the rewind. You are entertained because it's chaos for most of the movie. There's always something going on. It's very funny. It's a must watch. Even if I spoiled a lot of things there, even if I will spoil other things as we go on, you still need to see that movie. It's worth your time. I plan on rewatching it. Um, I will also add the acting was solid. Every performance in that movie was great. Now let's add something up. One of the team would be how a lot of women see marriage as a dream and as more of an idea. You get married because people get married, not because they love each other, since there's no true love between both characters. I cannot mention that with Disney and the Princess Dream and that kind of stuff, but you could see it through that movie. Again, I feel like I repeat myself a lot, but these messaging are really strong in the movie. I will also say the music was great, the humor was solid. Ivan is with Anora because he likes bedroom fun. I repeated myself again. Near the end of the movie, when Anora get to know Igor, um, that was meant to humanize Igor. So rewind. As I was watching, we had the divorce happening at the very end, and then I was like, is it how the movie should end? I think it should. And then we had another scene where we had Anora talking to one of the characters in the movie that we followed since the start of the movie. And I was questioning why that scene was there. But then I got to think. I was thinking, and I was like, everything really mattered prior. So this should matter as well. And indeed, it didn't matter. So the scene after the divorce where Nora talks to Iger, the brute guy, muscle guy, well, that was meant to humanize him. Because up to that point, the movie is just a muscle guy. Like, he's the generic guy that seems to care about Anora, but since most of the movie is told through Anora lens, you don't really see it because Anora is always like offended and she's like, you assaulted me, you're violent, you're dangerous, why should I enjoy you or like you? The scene they shared after the divorce was really to tell you his perspective. Let's go back early in the movie. We get the scene. Iger and the others, they try to find Ivan and they're like, let's have a divorce. And Anora, she feels threatened, so she throws stuff. She fights with the guys. She injures the guys in a hilarious and realistic way. It was just well made. And we got Iger, it just ties her up. And when you see it through Anora's eye, you're like, well, Iger is dangerous. It restrains her, that's wrong, that's bad. And then at the very end of the movie, we get back there. What happens? He says, if I restrained you, it's because you were dangerous for me and yourself. You could have injured yourself. So when you get that context there, you're like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. They also explain the meaning of the names in that movie. And they're like, your name means you are smart. So that can explain how Anora felt. You're him. I'm him. Who am I? I'm him. I don't know. But I lost my train of thoughts. Let's rewind. So Anora was restrained. Oh yeah. Anora was depicted as being smart. And her name means she's smart, so some of the things fall in the right place. And then we get the car scene where she basically f over someone that it's up to interpretation whether he is gay or not. I like to believe he is not, but if he is, that scene is even more impactful because then it's Anora that basically essay someone, and that's weird. So regardless whether the guy is gay or not, that scene was something. Um, I'm looking forward to rewatch Anora. This is a masterpiece. I had no issue with this movie. I was hooked from start to finish. And fun fact, there's a lot of bedroom fun scene in the movie. A lot. It's keep it PG. And at some point, there's like that old couple. They just left the theater, and I was like, okay, okay, they left because there was too much bedroom fun. Cool. Um, because again, that movie it depicts very well. I think it depicts very well. Streetwalkers, all they think, all they live. Um, so yeah, overall, overall, Anora deserves a solid 10 out of 10 for me. It's my fifth favorite movie this year, and I'm looking forward to rewatch it. And it's funny because I will share a bit of myself there because that movie is a lot of sharing and it made me think a lot. I will actually bring my date there and I will question her on whether she would like to have that kind of transactional relationship or not. And I will see if she understood the movie or not. Anyway, topic number two. We live in time. So again, we will have spoiler there. That movie is solid. I'm not the biggest romance movie fan, and I decided to pick that one because it was fresh, it was new, and I feel like it kind of worked very well with Anora to make a stream. Because I feel like Anora represents society relationship very well when it's transactional because I feel like this is how people would think. Like they don't want to divorce because they want the money, or if they divorce, they want the money. They want money anyway, so they're not really after love; they're after money. That's the interesting thing. Now, with Will Live in Time, we get what I consider not necessarily perfect because it's sad, but that's the kind of relationship I strive to have because we live in time. The two characters genuinely look like they love each other, they care about each other. And that was something good and refreshing to be like, yeah, it's true escapism. That's like wow. So let's get into We Live in Time because it's different than Anora. There's still a lot of really good humor, but I didn't laugh as much as Anora. But regardless, it's worth a watch. And if you don't want to be spoiled, well, you are warned. You will be spoiled. We Live in Time is a movie that tells its story on a non-linear way. So that means they tell piece of the stories here and there. They can tell you some part of the ending, some part of the middle, some part of the start, but it's all over the place. Now, this is my first issue with it. Because sometimes it did lead to very funny moments where the only reason why it's funny it's because they placed present and past like that, back to back. But then when you look at the bigger scheme of things, you're like, why did they choose to make the entire movie a puzzle you need to put the pieces together? Because there's a moment you're like, they should have placed that chain of events on a linear way to make the movie flow better and feel better. Because sometimes they're like, when is this happening? What's going on? You're not necessarily lost, but you're like, I went from a past scene to like almost near the end scene, and like there's a jump. I don't understand the jump. They could have kept going with the past scene, or vice versa. If they are in the future, you're like, I want to see more of the future. Why do you cut the future there and you bring the past again? So that's my first issue with We Live in Time. So the idea is it's a couple. Well, the couple is formed, and here's my second issue already. So the main character get a divorce, and he needs to sign the paper, but he breaks his pencil, so he needs to go out and go buy new pencil. And plot convenience happens. The moment he go out of the store, someone in a car hit him, and that someone is the love interest. So it's a chain of event that feels very contrived. You're like, these things, they are pure bad luck causing that chain of events. If anyone else hit the main character with the car and that's not the love interest, the movie doesn't happen. So it's important that they meet, but the way they meet, it got under my skin. So the love interest hits him with the car, and she is sad. She feels guilty because then the main character is at the hospital, or I don't know, he has some kind of things covering his arms, his neck for a few days and weeks. And she owns a restaurant because she is a cook. And it's kind of cool to see a woman being a boss babe, because she was a boss at the restaurant in the kitchen, but she was also a cook. Maybe I'm crazy, but like, at least here in Canada, I'm French Canadian. Women, they don't cook. They hate cooking. Nobody knows how to cook. It's sad and unfortunate. I know it's no longer the 1950s, but to see a woman knowing how to cook on a movie, it just feels kind of cool. Just wanted to share that. Maybe I'm too sexist. I don't know. Hopefully I'm not, but take it the way you want. She knows how to cook. Um, that's like the best of will. Like she owns a business and she cooks. That's cool. To get back on track, she invites the main character to a restaurant, thinking he would bring his wife with him. And he made it clear when he came at the restaurant, yeah, actually, I'm going through a divorce. And it's fresh new and it's rough. And they kind of bond over that. Hey, Anora and stuff. Hell yeah, great. Well, Anora, I already talked about that. If you want to hop in because you've seen Anora, we can pause on We Live in Time. But Anora, I had a blast. I swear, great. That was something. But yeah, we Live in Time was surprisingly really good. Oh, you have not. Well, uh, but We Live in Time. Yeah, that's where we were. That's where we were at. Now We Live in Time. So they bond over. Now they start making over, and the relationship builds itself. And I feel like most of the movie could have been told on a very linear way, but they didn't do it because they wanted an aesthetic where, oh, it's a jigsaw puzzle or something. But yeah, they bond over that, and we get a lot of very genuinely funny moment. The characters have chemistry, they make sense, the acting is on point, the music choice is great. Um, and it's interesting because this movie is also great at showing the good days, the good moments in the couple, but also the bad ones. So it's not like an easy road. The movie is not like relationships are easy. No, it's not the case. And at some point, you believe they will split because they enter that in a flashback like scene, but then they fast forward and they're still together. So that kind of breaks the idea of jigsaw puzzle because you're like, but I know they will be together. And um, at some point, they talk about having kids, and they will already have kids. So that argument, I won't say was pointless because it shows that they disagree on stuff. But a scene prior, you already see her being pregnant. So you're like, you it's hard to explain, but you're like, yeah, I already know how it will happen. So like, why just bringing this up if you already know she will get pregnant? And there are complications during the pregnancies, but it's undermined by the fact that later on we see the kid being around. So it's like, okay, great. But in all, I sound like I hated the movie, but it's really the idea of that jigsaw puzzle. It just didn't work. Now, as someone who's not into romance movie, this one did work very well overall outside of the messy timeline. I will say it's a roller coaster of emotions made by good performance and entertaining character. That movie made me tear up for many different reasons. Sometimes we have very sad moments, others that was tears of joy because it's just a cute moment with the family. And at some point in the middle of the movie, you learn that the wife actually has a cancer, stage 3. So you're like, oh, okay, this went dark very fast. And it was something hard to watch. So if you have relatives that had cancer and that kind of stuff, that might be a very hard to watch movie because of that, because that sickness the love interest has is one of the big thing about that movie. It's about the couple, how they deal with that, how they tell it to their kid. And there's a very funny restaurant scene. They're with their kid, and she's quite young, but they still want to explain her what's going on. They are at that restaurant, and they try to talk to her and explain her, look, mommy is really sick. Maybe she won't live long. They're trying to say that on the softest way possible because they don't want to traumatize their kids. But then you got the waiter is just interrupting the thing, and he's trying to talk to the kid at the same time as the parents, and the parents are like, F off, go away. We were talking to our kid about something important. I think the delivery was far better than what I tried to express. But that's the kind of humor you get. And it did work. In that moment I was laughing a lot. And a lot of the message of the movie would be living in the present instead of the future, because in a lot of points when the two leads they talk about how their past made the person they are today. And the person they are today, they're not really on that much on that present. They always see the future. They want to think about the future. And what's very sad is how that future is disrupted by illness. And how that future, or how the legacy they want to give to their child, maybe it's not that important. Maybe what's important is what's going on right now, the moments right now. And to give an idea, there's a big competition of the best cook in the world. And despite being sick, the love interest is like, you know what? I will still take this one on. And at some point, she has to choose between her wedding and her career. She chose the career. And her thought process was very mother like because she's like, I'm about to die. I want to give a great legacy to my daughter if I don't survive the treatment. And they have an argument because the mother didn't really tell the love interest that she was doing that competition because she knew he would disagree. Because the doctor told her, look, because you're sick, you should stop working. She didn't listen to the doctor. And she went at that competition. And when the husband um, learned about that, they have that huge fight. And this is when you realize she is in the future, he is in the present, and he is sad because she's not with him in the prison with the kid as well. And he's like, who cares if you become someone like that? Me and our daughter, we need you now. Your family is what matters. And because she is a boss babe, I don't say that on a negative way because I think that's a strength. In that movie, it's shown as a strength. But she is a boss babe. In her mind, the family aspect is not as important as the career aspect. And that's part of her character growth, realizing maybe my family is actually important. Maybe these are the one that will stay. Maybe they are my legacy and not my career. And this is a message I enjoy a lot. Maybe I misinterpreted the entire movie. I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not. But yeah, that was something. And part of the character growth of the love interest was realizing that at some point she sees her husband and her daughter looking at her succeeding at the very hard task she has to do. She was about to move on to the next step in the competition. And she decides, you know what? I will drop that hat of chief in the kitchen. I will go with my kids and my husband. And this is what she does. She leaves the stage. And that moment was impactful because you're like, you could see the joy. You could see that, oh, damn, she realized her family is more important than whatever the work she was doing. And the legacy is also well shown because, again, more spoiler, but that's kind of predictable because that was printed in the script everywhere. If you didn't see it coming, I don't know what to tell you, but hey, it's still a spoiler because that's one of the very last scene. We understand that finally the mother died. It does affect the dad and the daughter, but the legacy is there because let's rewind a bit. During the movie, at some point, the mother is showing cooking tips, tricks to the main character. She's showing this how you crack eggs so you don't lose anything, and there's an entire weird process. Hard to explain if you haven't seen it. Something that's shown, not really told. But she is showing her husband this is how you cook, this is how you do the thing. At the very end of the movie, he does the same trick with the daughter, and he's like, look, daughter, your mom, she taught me that. Here's what I will teach you: legacy. And another really fun thing about that movie is how they depicted on a very realistic way some of the very valid reason why some people may not want kids in their future, their upbringing and their parents. Because during that movie, at some point, they had to struggle whether they wanted a kid or not. We all knew they would have a kid because at some point she was pregnant, but that's beside the point. We learn about the backstory where, oh yeah, my father was kind of harsh on me. He wanted me to be more active like my brothers. He didn't really treat me the way I felt like I wanted to be treated. Like, I felt like one of my brothers and not like me, the person I am. And he kind of placed one of his dream in me. And I think it's skating or skiing. It's when you're on ice with I don't know. I think it's skates. I might be wrong. Please help me out, chat, on that. But I think it's skates. When you're on ice and you're sliding on ice, I think it's skates. But basically, her father was like, "You will do skating." She didn't really want to do it, but she did it because she wanted to please her dad. And okay, perfect. Um, so she did skate for her dad, and she loses her dad, and after that she stopped skating because she was skating for her dad. And later in the movie, she is like, you know what, that past is one of the reasons why I'm the person who I am. And she decides to place a new memory on skating, and she brings her kid and husband to skate, and they teach their daughter a cool skating moment and family. So I had tears of joy because I was like, this is a very endearing moment. That's like, wow, that's beautiful to look at. That movie, I feel like that movie has a lot of very traditional values in it when it comes to family, but it's very modern because there's a lot of modern day issues in it and struggles. The characters, they don't feel like they were from the 50s or some shit like that. They feel like real people. And I think that's the art of this movie. It's all well made. The characters are in We Live in Time. And again, um, I despite my two issues I had with this movie, I think this is a solid flick. Um, it's not a perfect movie, but it's a movie I consider I value. And now I will give away the score for for this movie, We Live in Time. And yeah, We Live in Time is a 9.6 out of 10 for me. Well deserved, amazing movie. I I think Nora is slightly better, but these two movies, they represent very well our relationship could be like in 2024. I say could be because it's been like 4 years I'm single, so I don't know if it's still like that, but they feel like true stories even if they're not. And that's the charm of these two movies. So again, even if I spoiled everything, I highly recommend these two, and I will be watching Anora again. We Live in Time, I I don't know. I like the roller coaster of emotion, but the biggest thing that will stop me from maybe rewatching would be the fact that I don't understand why they placed some stuff where they placed it. Again, telling a non-linear, a non-linear story could work. It can be great. it I just think it wasn't done properly with We Live in Time. It works well with the team and the title, and I feel like if they thought a bit more about maybe lining up events on a better way to feel it more smooth, it could have been done better. But yeah, these are the two reviews. Anora is fifth place in all of the movies I've seen in 2024. Well, the 2024 movies. Um, and We Live in Time is easy top 20 to 25. And now I have seen 60 movies this year, or from this year. Not in the entire year, but yeah. So out of the 60 2024 movies I've seen, We Live in Time is like 20 to 25 ish, and Anora is fifth. So yeah, go see these two, and we are out. Thank you, chat. I had a blast.